Hi, classmates. My name is Rivka Jensen. This is my learning teaching interaction outline video for lessons 3 through 5. I guess just really quick about me. My name is Rivka Jensen. I live in Arkansas. I'm a home and family major, and my workshop, I'm in the workshop group, and we're covering coping with stress and stress management and things like that. Okay, so some of the questions and some of the topics I wanted to go over from lesson 3 was, the first one was creating and maintaining a balance between teachers and participants throughout your lesson plans. I think that an important way to do that is by fostering discussions and just encouraging participants to ask their questions and to comment. And I think a lot of that goes into your planning and making sure that you're planning times where you can have a pause and wait and listen and having thought-provoking questions that people want to answer, and it's not it's discussion-oriented questions rather than just yes, no, or quick answer questions. I think making sure that you're having opportunities for your participants to jump in makes a big deal. As far as contributing, having the Holy Ghost contribute to your discussion, if it's with a non-LDS audience or group, I think a lot of that comes down to yourself and what you're doing, and preparing yourself spiritually. Even though you're not technically having an LDS discussion, you have the Spirit with you, and so you can bring it with you. And I think if you pray before lessons, that you'll have the Spirit with you, or if it's like a really serious discussion, you can have fasting. And I think also just making sure that your discussions are Spirit appropriate, and that words are being shared, that the Spirit can be present, and the things that are being said keep the Spirit present, and just the attitudes there. Just making sure that it's the Spirit appropriate. The next thing I wanted to talk about was how to establish a relationship and build rapport with participants. So there's a book that my husband and I have been reading, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's some things that it says in there that make a big difference, just getting people to like you and want to be around you. And one of those, it's really simple things, and one of them was just saying people's names, just remembering people's names and saying hi to them, like hi Judy or hi Betty whenever they walk in the room, and just that there's something inside of your mind that when you hear your name, you like it. And so I think it's small things like that make a big difference, like remembering their names and saying hi to them and using their name and remembering things that they tell you and asking about it, and just making them feel like you care and like you have a personal relationship with them. And I think that makes a big difference. And another thing I think is showing sincerity and value to their comments and remarks. I think that goes a long way with people. As far as learnings from involving others in discussions, I think that when you have them involved in discussions, people are more interested and they're more excited about what you're talking about. And they're also more likely to retain what's being said and what's going on, just because it's more personal to them. And I think it also makes them more likely to want to come back next time. And if they were excited about it and they had fun and they felt like they were participating in something and they got a chance to interact, I think it's more likely to want to go again if you're having that experience. As far as mistakes that I'm most likely to make regarding participant involvement in discussions, I'm pretty good about giving people feedback and giving validation in their comments, but sometimes I try too hard to give them validation in their comments, and I end up going on tangents and spending too much time validating what they're saying. So I think for me, it's making sure that I'm staying on topic while validating and giving sincerity to their comments. And another thing I think is being patient in moments where you ask a question, being patient and allowing time for someone to raise their hand or to speak, or and not being uncomfortable with the silence, but instead just embracing it and waiting and having that patience. The next set of things I wanted to go over were from lesson 4 that we had. The first discussion of it was okay, I want to make sure I'm not going over time. The first part of it I wanted to talk about was the benefit of stories and personal narratives. I know for me that when I hear stories and personal narratives, I enjoy the discussion more. It becomes more personal, and it feels like first off, it's a lot easier for me to remember and retain, and then it also just becomes a lot more personal to me, and it gets my attention and my interest. I also think that stories or personal narratives tie a lesson together. It helps you get the purpose behind your lesson and display it and how it affects real life. And I think it's just more memorable. People retain it better. As far as the next thing I wanted to talk about was the purpose behind being sensitive to differences that can exist within individuals and families. I think there's a few things to be careful about. One is offending someone. You don't want to say something that's going to offend one of the parties or one of the individuals, and then they don't listen to anything that you're saying, or they don't want to listen to you, or they don't want to listen to anyone else in the room because they're offended and they've put up a wall. I think that can make the situation worse, and it's not very many people that can hear harsh things towards them and not hold a grudge or not be offended. So I think it's important to be sensitive to things like that. I also think another reason to be sensitive to differences is that we have to have an understanding that people are different and people have different experiences and different backgrounds and different perspectives, and we have to show respect towards that. That way they feel like they're being validated, and it also allows, if we need to be sensitive so that other people in the room can be sensitive as well, because if we're not showing any kind of care towards what they have to say, no one else is going to care either, because you're the one leading the discussion. The last thing I wanted to talk about was things I can do to invite and keep the Spirit with me as I plan and teach the workshops. I think the first thing is just praying before and praying after, and if it's not with the LDS group, praying individually before as well. Praying that you have the Spirit with you, and just praying that you know where to take the lesson and the discussion and things like that. I think also living worthy of the Spirit, so that the Spirit can be around you and be with you and be in your sessions, and conducting your sessions and planning your sessions in a way that the Spirit's welcome to be there. I know I touched on that earlier. And then the last thing is just reading your scriptures and implementing gospel study in your things. So that's a little bit what I've gained out of the last few readings and session and readings and materials, and I'm excited to implement them, and thanks for watching.